let's talk about guns. First of all, I'd like to apologize for anyone that thinks this is like too soon or anything like that, or they think this is doing a disservice to the children that were killed, or to the families of the children that were killed, or the adults that were killed, or the families of the adults that were killed. If anyone thinks this is a disservice, I'm sorry, but the reason I'm doing this is because this needs to be talked about, and the only time when people are going to be talking about this, like as a serious topic, is going to be this time of year. Not necessarily this time of year, my bad, that was the wrong thing to say, but when these kinds of things happen. And I realize it's the thing that should be talked about all the time, but that's not how reality goes. And it needs to be talked about now, since most people are looking this up right now and they're searching it. And I'm making this video now and going to get more views or more chances of being noticed and more chance of getting my opinion across, or perhaps clarifying some things that people aren't exactly so well informed on now rather than later, because people are looking it up now. So I'd like to give my stance. I am not against guns. I am for gun regulation, more strict gun regulation. Um, I, being a fellow American citizen born in Cincinnati, Ohio, think much like other Americans that we should be able to own a firearm. I think that's great. I think that's fine and dandy. When I get older, I plan on owning a handgun or something like that, just a handgun, just to have it for protection or for whatever purposes of looking at it or something like that. But I should not be able to get it so easily. So if you look at some of the statistics, there's some things going around, everything like that. And I'd like to point out some numbers and to clarify terms and, everything else, like what people are saying and what everyone thinks and everything like that. So let's take a look really, first of all, about something that I like to say. 40% of all guns sold in America are done so with no background checks. And you can look that up on a website that I will put in the description. So that's verified. You can look that up as well, and you will know that. In addition to that, there are 300 million guns in America, and our population is only 314, very, very high, 315 million people. So essentially, 15 million people would be without guns, but 300 million people could have guns if every person had one gun. Now, to me, that seems like something out of hand. That seems like way too many. Obviously, it comes down to personal opinion, and that's nothing that I can say facts. I'm just presenting these numbers for you to think of them, what they may be. You can look these up. You can verify with them. Don't ask, you can ask me where I got mine, and I can find somewhere and show you, and you can find credible sources and everything like that. But I'm telling you that these are things that I've looked up, and I have the information right here. Sorry if I'm glancing down. I have my iPhone. I have little pointers that I want to stay on topic so I don't get confused or forget anything that I was going to say. In addition to that, there have been 31 school shootings in the U.S. since the Columbine incident. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. If you haven't, you can also watch a movie, Bowling for Columbine, which is a very good recount of that, and it adds some interesting perspective onto it. There have been 14 worldwide school shootings since Columbine. That is minusing the United States. So 14 worldwide minus the United States. United States plus worldwide, 45 of them. The United States has 17 more than the rest of the world since Columbine. Numbers for you to look at and think about. One other thing that I'd like to point out is that one of the counter arguments that I typically get to this, even though I'm not necessarily against guns, they go, what should I do if a guy comes up to me with a gun and tries to shoot me on the road? What am I going to do with a gun? Like I said, I'm not completely against guns. I'm for having a gun. That's fine. I just think the regulation needs to be done, and I'll touch on those regulations a little bit later on in this video. One thing that I would like to point out also that a counter argument that comes up is that, well, getting rid of guns or making guns harder to get is not the problem, because if I'm a killer and I want to get rid of someone, then I'm going to get it done illegally or legally, however it may be, if I really, really, really want to do this thing, because that's possible. In today's society, it's kind of easy to get a hold of illegal things. It's kind of easy to sneak things through. Look at the drug thing that's going on in the United States. We've started legalizing marijuana in the United States, mainly for a business aspect, not because the nation thinks it's okay, which that opinion is actually changing. The nation is starting to think it's okay, but because of a business aspect. There's a lot of money to be made. So, we're talking about that. So getting the illegal things with guns, everything like that, you keep them legal, you make them harder to get, you make every person have a background check. So every person has a background check, and suddenly you guys think, oh my god, that's not going to reduce the problem, because all those people will still get them illegally who want to kill someone. Well, let's take a look at the numbers. The U.S., according to a 2010 study, had 9,369 deaths due to firearms. Now, I am not exactly sure how much of that is homicide. Okay, not exactly sure how much of that is homicide. Keep that in mind because I don't know how much of that is homicide. I'm guessing that a high 75% of that is homicide. Probably 10-15% is suicide, and the rest of that is accidental. There's not going to be any more than 10% accidental. If you look at the numbers in other countries, if you look on a statistic of like 95 per like 100,000 people, maybe like 2 of those would be due to accidental or something like that. So obviously very, very low percentage we're talking about here. On the other hand, in 2010, the number 10 country on the list of deaths per country is Peru with 442. Obviously, Peru has a very, very much smaller population than the United States does. But let's just go ahead. Let's take the United States is 2010. No, not 2010. Yeah, 2010 numbers, and we'll use the population from now onto the version. We'll use the population now in comparison with the Peru population. So basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be boosting the number of those. So Peru has a population as of now of 30,135,000. So let's get out our handy dandy calculator here on the computer. Peru back in 2010 had 442 deaths by firearms. Okay, 442 deaths by firearms. So let's go to our calculator. 442. Oh wait, no. First, okay. So we have 315 million people in the United States. 315. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 315 million divided by the amount of people that are in Peru, which is 30,135,000. 30,135,000. Okay. So now we get the answer of 10.452. So we're going to now multiply that. We're going to now multiply that number by the amount of people that died in Peru that were due to firearm-related deaths back in 2010 in Peru, using today's population. So basically, we're boosting the number because there's more people in Peru than there were before. It's just natural. The population of the world is increasing, everything like that. And in 2000, for example, 2007 census, according to Wikipedia, they had 28 million people, and in 2012 they have 30 million. So the population is going up, verified right there. So 442 times that 10 number that we just got, and we come to a number 4,620. Now, in comparison with the amount from the United States back in 2010, 9,369 to 4,000. What was it? 4,620. So obviously, their gun control is doing a much better job than our gun control is doing, because now we have the amount of gun deaths that would be based on population. Because before they were just numbers based on the numbers and everything like that. And now we've equaled the numbers based on population, and there still is less. Now, obviously, you could say that the people there are different, they live a different lifestyle and all that, but the facts are the facts. The numbers are the numbers at this point. So even if Peru had the same population that we did, they would not have as many deaths due to firearms. This is obviously related to their gun control. That is why it's better. So, that being said, and these numbers being thrown out to you and everything like that, obviously there is no final solution. Making them tougher to get is not going to stop them. It's going to make them less frequent, less terrible, everything like that. But it's not going to stop them. There's no perfect solution. I recognize that. I realize that. There is no final perfect solution at all. That being said, like I said, there is a way to better it and make it less worse. Look at countries across the world. We could do the same numbers with Peru, Germany, the Czech Republic, the Ukraine, Canada, Albania, Costa Rica, Azerbaijan, Poland, Uruguay, Spain. These are countries in the top 20 in terms of firearms, murders with firearms by country, with their most recent statistics available. So, these things are, obviously going on. Something that I'd like to point out for that small population who is watching the video now and getting extremely mad, most of them being people who like to hunt. The hunters, what are they going to do when we make guns tougher to get? Well, obviously, I'm no interest in completely getting rid of guns. And now you're thinking, well, you're getting rid of more powerful guns that we like to use for hunting. Sure I am. I don't think anyone needs anything better than a handgun. But let's say you're a hunter and you do want something bigger than a handgun to get rid of that big game that you're firing on. What do you say to this idea? This is a proposal. You can have those other guns, but you can never keep them within your house or within your own possession. Those must be kept with groups that set off land aside for hunting. So you take some land, you set the land aside for hunting. You have a place where everyone keeps their guns, the guns that you can't keep in your house, aka handguns, from my personal opinion. Only handguns should be the only one. You keep those guns there. You go to the place, you sign some papers saying that you're taking the gun out on that day, and the gun must be back within 24 hours. You go, you do your hunting, and you bring the thing back. As well, you may have to make some kind of deposit, and you keep the money there, and at that point, when you bring the gun back, you can take the money back. So there's an incentive to actually bring the gun back and not bring the gun back and not just keep the gun or anything like that. Obviously, you would have already bought this gun. You would have already been background checked for it. You would have already gone through the whole process of getting the gun. This is just a place that they keep it so people can't hold, like the majority of the people can't hold on to just bigger and bigger guns that I think is totally unnecessary for people to need. For the hunting aspect, obviously that's there. That's my solution for the hunting thing. Maybe there's a better solution. Maybe there is no solution for the hunting thing at all, but that's my opinion on it, because the hunters, I realize, have to be recognized in this place. In Ohio, hunting is big game stuff. Fairly important. The hunting season generates a ton of money for Ohio, and we like hunting here. So that's my opinion for the hunting thing. At this point, I'd like to let the commenters know if you have a counter argument to anything that I've said in this video, or if you disagree with anything I've said in this video, make your valid and well-researched argument in the comments below. Take 2-3 comments if you need them or anything like that. As long as it's a well-written and structured and decent argument, I will respond, and I may even make a video in response to it. But don't say anything that contradicts anything that I've already said. Like, don't say anything that's not factual based on what I've said right here. So you know the facts now. Go with that. Form your own opinions. Go out and be more well-informed. I'm not saying you have to think the way I do. I'm not saying you can't think the way you want to think. But these are some things to think about in a different aspect to increase your knowledge and sort of open your mind farther. And so I think that will really help, and I think I've added a good aspect that a lot of people aren't going to see. So if you'd like to argue with me, go ahead for it. I encourage that. Just don't be rude about it, and make your arguments well written and clear, and we'll talk, and we'll see how things go. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope I've sort of expanded your mind a little bit. Have a nice day.